that one deer back in 18 or something like that, where I was hunting the biggest deer I've ever seen in on public land. I mean, this deer was probably had to have been pushing 170 easily. And it's the first time I ever hunted that spot. And the day before, I went in there and I found a little rub line. And I walked. It's a mile and a half in from where I park. So I walked back out, got my climbing stand, come back in there, set up on that rub line, and right at dark, I had this little spot come out. And I'm like, man, I said, this is probably what's making that rub. But I mean, it was a good rub. And anyway, so I left. I come back the very next day, early afternoon. I set up, climbed up that same tree. What sounded like a ball let out behind me, like buck hollering, I guess you can say, a buck ball. And so I just turned and I grunted as loud as I could, not thinking nothing of it. And about an hour later, I look over to my right, something I caught movement, and he was at 25 yards with his head down like this. And the first thought I had was an axis buck because his beams were so long. And when he picked his head up, I was just like, oh my god. And I stood up, trying to get prepared because he was going to make that move, and he walked to my left, and I just needed about another 5 yards where a little opening, and he just stopped and he stood still forever. And I mean, I had to look at this giant forever, and I tried to use my call. I turned as far as I could to the left, and I barely blew that grunt call. And of course, he reacted and he looked, but he couldn't see no deer standing there, so he wasn't gonna commit. So he kind of slowly turned, went back in the thick stuff, and pushed out a 130-inch deer that anybody would have shot all day long, but not me after I seen that deer. That was after all these years, 30 years of hunting public land, that was the biggest by far that I've ever seen here in East Texas. And I hunted that deer. I lost 20 pounds hunting that deer. So
Just trying to find him, huh?
You
oh
never
yeah,
saw
I
him
mean
again?
I wouldn't go in there unless the wind was right. I kept trying to move, trying to pinpoint where he was coming from, and never could close the deal on him.
Did you ever see him again?
I never saw him again. That's like I told you, I don't use cameras too much, and I used the camera pretty heavy trying to catch a glimpse of him because I mean he was a good deer, really good deer. I never seen him again though.